Part 2 of Section C of the Great Divide Trail ended up working out much better than Part 1, but it ended up being a little bittersweet. My isolation on the trail had kept me ignorant of the news going on around the fires in Jasper and on the northern section of the Great Divide Trail. And when I found out, it quickly became apparent that my through hike was going to have to end early. So for this part, my total distance was 144 kilometers. The highest point was Numa Pass and Healy Pass at 2,335 meters. And the total ascent for Section C was 7,966 meters. Day 37, August 1st. I packed up late and did some final business in Banff before heading out to Healy Creek campsite. This is off the GDT, but not far from the GDT junction, and an ideal way to get back onto the GDT heading north. At Healy Creek, I went through my supplies and realized that the mount for my tripod was missing, so it was going to be difficult to do any video recording. I also found that my food supplies were short and that I was missing one day's supplies. Good reminder to always triple check your supplies against your calendar. Day 38, August 2nd. I was really tired and went to bed early last night, then slept through my alarm on my new watch this morning. Healy Pass at 2,335 meters isn't much to write home about, although there are beautiful fields of wildflowers and there's a nice mountain vista once you get to the top. Whistling Pass at 2,324 meters was more challenging. There was a really interesting subalpine parkland forest on the way up to the summit, and coming down on the other side, the route was strewn with boulders and cobbles.
It's August 2nd, and I am at Whistling Pass, elevation 2,324 meters. Take a look at this.
High Duck Lake is very pretty with twin waterfalls draining into a lake which changes from gray to blue as the clouds pass. In January, I had been unable to reserve at the Ball Pass campground. When I arrived at the campsite late in the afternoon, I found that only 2 of the 5 pads had been occupied, and I was able to get a pad for free. Thank you to whoever paid for it. Day 39, August 3rd, I did much better with the alarm on my watch this morning because I hung it from the roof of my tent. My objective today is Flow Lake, 20.9 kilometers away, and reportedly one of the most beautiful places on the GDT. I'm really looking forward to it. Ball Pass was the highest point today at 2,323 meters. Then there was a nearly 1 kilometer drop before climbing nearly 700 meters again to reach Flow Lake. Unfortunately, my first view of Flow Lake was quite disappointing. The area was shrouded in cloud, and it meant that all of the vibrant colors from the lake and the glacier and the snowfield around it were drained, and it didn't make for very good photography. I had scheduled a 0 day here. In other words, a day with 0 kilometers or a day off. And I was hoping that the next day, the conditions for photography of Flow Lake would be a little better. Day 40, August 4th. The morning started off relatively clear, and I was able to get some passable photos of Flow Lake from the campsite. However, as the day wore on, the smoke got progressively thicker and the conditions for photography deteriorated. I spent the day recording the A-roll for my field notes for Section B, but I had a few problems. First of all, I'd lost the mount for my phone, so I had to attach the phone to the tripod with hair elastics that I had scrounged off the ground at the campsite. It kind of worked. The second problem was I had sent my Kindle home, and that was what I was using to read my notes from. So I had to scrounge up some toilet paper rolls from various campers and write the notes down on toilet paper rolls so I had something to review. And the third problem was that after about 2 hours of recording, I realized that I had forgotten to turn on the microphone and the audio quality for the video was really poor. The life lesson in all of this is to realize when things are stacked against you and try again another day. The campsite was really busy because of the long weekend, and there were a lot of novice campers who were setting up their tents for the very first time that night. I'm sorry, but I do have to inform you that bears will smell food inside your tent. If only we could ensure that people heading into the backcountry know how to use their equipment and have some experience before heading into potentially hazardous areas, I think camping would be a lot better for everybody involved. Day 41, August 5th. It rained overnight, so I had to close the flaps on my tent. One of the problems with ultralight backpacking tents is that although they are completely waterproof and do not absorb water, they have problems with condensation because they don't breathe. What this meant was that in the morning, I had to swab out the inside of my tent, dry it off, and then swab out the outside because it had been rained on, and then pack up the tent dry. But that took a long time. My alarm had been set for 4:45 a.m., and I didn't get on the trail until 6:39. Numa Pass, at 2,335 meters, has great views and abundant wildflowers. I was at the summit for approximately 4 minutes before a weather system came in up the pass from the other side.
Hopefully the weather is going to continue to hold steady. And on the other side here, you can see the way down to Flow Lake and the way I've come. And I'm quickly getting into whiteout conditions here as this cloud blows over. There, you can see it behind me. I may have to put my sweater back on.
Tumbling Pass, which is 2,232 meters high, was a treat. Opposite the trail is a series of glaciers and a tarn or a glacial lake, with the glacier calving into the lake forming icebergs. Unfortunately, much of the view is blocked by a lateral moraine formed by the glacier, so you need to scramble up the moraine carefully to get the full view. After I added a note to this effect in the Far Out app, I noticed a note from the Great Divide Trail Association, which must have been uploaded automatically in Banff, noting that the trail was closed 2.5 days north of Field because of an active forest fire. It looked like my through hike was going to come to an end prematurely. Now I had to figure out how to exit from Field and get to my destination. That night I had my tent set up and was able to have dinner before the lightning struck. I got in my tent, and right above me there was a flash of lightning, and less than half second later the entire tent shook. Day 42, August 6th. Today I started out the trail in full rain gear, not because it was raining, but because the plants had all been sopped from last night's rain. Tumbling Pass yesterday was spectacular, and as I ascended from the campground towards Rockwall Pass at 2,330 meters, I got some additional views of the glacier. Rockwall Pass itself was no slouch, and there was another beautiful close glacier to the west of the trail. Given the news about the trail being closed, I decided that I would have to touch a glacier at least once on this trip. So I did a 1 kilometer side trip to get some photos of the glacier up close and actually touch it.
Here we go. For the record, I have touched the glacier.
The photos turned out fairly well, but the clouds were hanging low, so much of the rock wall was enshrouded in cloud that day. Today's third pass, Good Sir Pass at 2,210 meters, was quite challenging. There were lots of blowdowns and heavy vegetation, particularly in the avalanche chutes. After 24 kilometers, I finally reached MacArthur Creek. Today consisted of a very long road walk on nothing but a few snacks. First along an old logging road, then on the Trans-Canada Highway, and then finally on a side road into field. I phoned my sister and explained my situation to her, and to my great surprise, she was able to come out the next day and pick me up from field. No bus trip necessary. After about half an hour on the Trans-Canada Highway, a police car with siren on and lights blazing went whizzing by as fast as it could go. About 10 minutes later, there was another police vehicle, followed by an ambulance, a fire command vehicle, 2 fire trucks, and then within another half hour or so, I saw the long lineup of vehicles leading all the way into field. Clearly, somebody was having a very, very bad day. Soon I came into field where I ate lunch. Then I crossed the river to get some supplies at the Yoho Brothers trading post. I tried to find some dinner from the limited options available. My best choice was 2 cans of extra hot chili. Bad choice. Day 44, August 8th. Not surprisingly, I had a stomach ache all night long. Getting up that morning, my choice for breakfast was 2 packages of ramen noodles, which were strangely unappetizing. So I decided to pack up, head back into town, and get a decent breakfast at the inn. Although they had limited breakfast choices, they did have one thing going for them, which was a working espresso machine, so that was quite nice. I then crossed the bridge, went to the Yoho Park Visitor Center, and awaited my ride back to civilization. You can see I've got my resupply box here. Picked it up from the post office this morning, and that would have been my supplies to continue on to Saskatchewan River Crossing on Section D. My heart goes out to those people in Jasper whose livelihoods and lives have been affected by this disaster. Epilogue. The news about Jasper was much worse than I had assumed. About 1/3 of the town had burnt to the ground. Fortunately, the evacuation went flawlessly and everybody was removed from the town safely without any injuries or fatalities. Residents are now returning to the town and the process of reconstruction has begun, but it's going to be a long, long process. Currently, all of the trails that make up the GDT in Jasper National Park remain closed. It will take possibly years before crews can go in, make sure the trails are safe, and rebuild any wooden structures that were destroyed by the fire. I'm not sure when my next trek will start or where it will be, but when it does happen, I'll be sure to bring you along on the next Blue Magi trek. Stay tuned, I'm going to create more videos using the hundreds of hours of footage that I haven't yet shared with you. Now that I'm not limited to producing videos entirely on a cell phone, I'm going to work on production values and trying to make the video quality even better than before.
Woohoo! There we go. A little more masculine. All right. Have a great day.